Day 1, March 1st, 1992. Jake Sullivan had exactly $0.73 in his pocket. Everything else was gone. Bank account, frozen. Credit cards, maxed and cancelled. Apartment, evicted 2 days ago. Job, lost 3 weeks ago when the Des Moines construction company went bankrupt, owing him $4,800 in back wages. Jake was 26 years old. Sitting in his truck, a 1984 Ford that wouldn't start anymore, parked behind a gas station at 2 in the morning. He'd slept there, woke up cold, hungry, broke, desperate. The only thing Jake owned that had any value was sitting on a trailer behind the dead truck, a 1953 Farmall Super M tractor, faded red paint, rusty, dented, old. His grandfather's tractor, inherited when Grandpa died in January. Jake had planned to sell it, use the money to get through while finding new construction work. But the tractor market in '92 was terrible. Farm crisis hangover. Nobody wanted old equipment. Best offer Jake got was $400. He needed that $400 for rent. Took it. Then landlord raised rent to $600. Jake couldn't pay. Got evicted anyway. Now he had no apartment, no job, no money, and one old tractor nobody wanted. Sitting in that truck at 2 a.m., Jake made a decision. Crazy decision. Desperate decision. He'd survive 100 days using only the Farmall. No other resources, no help, just him and the tractor. If he could make it 100 days, build something, anything, he'd consider it success. If not, he'd sell the Farmall for scrap, hitchhike to his sisters in California, admit defeat. 100 days, starting with $0.73 and one old Farmall. Jake pulled out a notebook, wrote at the top, Day 1, March 1st, 1992, 0.73. Goal, survive 100 days, build something. He had no plan, no connections, no safety net, just desperation and a tractor. Day 1 through 5 were hell. Jake slept in the truck behind the gas station. Station owner found him day 3, told him to leave. Jake begged for 1 week, offered to clean bathrooms in exchange for parking. Owner agreed reluctantly. Food came from dumpsters behind grocery stores. Jake wasn't proud, but hunger kills pride fast. He found day-old bread, bruised fruit, enough to survive. Day 4, Jake walked into every farm within 10 miles, knocked on doors. I've got a tractor. Need any work done? Plowing, disking, anything? 19 farms, 19 rejections. Don't need help. Too busy to explain what needs doing. Can't afford to hire anyone. Day 5, Jake was ready to quit. Sell the Farmall for scrap. Maybe get 300. Use it for bus ticket west. Then, on farm number 20, Mrs. Anderson answered the door. Widow, 74 years old. Husband died previous fall. I've got 40 acres that need disking. Been sitting since last harvest. Spring planting's coming. Can't afford to hire the big operators. They want $1,200. I don't have it. Jake saw opportunity. I'll do it for 300, cash, 40 acres disked and ready to plant. Mrs. Anderson studied him. Young, skinny, desperate looking, but honest eyes. You can do it. Yes, ma'am. Have my grandfather's Farmall. Runs good. I know how to disk. Did it summers as a kid helping my grandfather. When can you start? Today, right now. Mrs. Anderson showed him the field. 40 acres of corn stubble, hard soil, lot of work. Jake went back for the Farmall, hitched his grandfather's old disc, also inherited, also on the trailer, 12-foot disc, rusty but functional. He started disking at noon, day 5, worked until dark. 9 hours, got about 12 acres done, slept in the truck on Mrs. Anderson's property. Day 6, up at dawn, disked from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m., 13 hours. Another 16 acres done, body aching, hands blistered. Didn't care, was making progress. Day 7, finished the last 12 acres by 3 p.m., 40 acres complete, disked perfectly, soil ready for planting. Mrs. Anderson inspected the work, smiled. "You did good work, son. Real good work." She paid him $300 cash. Jake's hands shook taking the money. First money he'd earned in a month. Day 7 totals, $373. Enough for food, fuel for the Farmall, maybe a cheap motel room to shower. Jake wrote in his notebook. Day 7, $373. First job complete, 40 acres. This might work. Day 8 through 15. Word spread. Mrs. Anderson told her neighbor, "That young man with the old Farmall did excellent work, charged reasonable price." Neighbor hired Jake to plow 60 acres, paid $400. Jake did it in 4 days. Another farmer hired him to pull a cultipacker, $300 for 30 acres. 2 days' work. By day 15, Jake had completed 4 jobs, earned $1,200, spent $300 on food, fuel, and cheap motel twice to shower and sleep in bed. Day 15 totals, $973. Jake was surviving. But challenges emerged. The Farmall was 79 years old. Parts wore out. Day 16, hydraulic line burst. Sprayed fluid everywhere. Jake had to fix it himself. Couldn't afford mechanic. Found parts at salvage yard, $28. Spent 4 hours installing new line. Lost half day of work. Lost potential income. Day 18, front tire went flat. Couldn't afford new tire. Patched it 3 times, kept losing air, had to stop every 2 hours to pump it up. Day 22, battery died. Needed new one, $65. Hurt the budget but necessary. Jake learned to maintain equipment fanatically, greased every fitting daily, checked oil twice daily, changed oil every 50 hours religiously. The Farmall had to survive 100 days. If it died, he had nothing. Day 23 brought Jake's first major decision. A farmer offered him steady work, $500 per week, regular hours, guaranteed income. Jake was tempted. Regular money meant security, could rent apartment, buy food, normal life, but the job required Jake to work for the farmer exclusively, couldn't take other jobs, couldn't build his own business, would just be employee again. Jake declined. Chose uncertainty, chose to keep building something of his own. Day 24 through 30, Jake hustled, took any job offered, disking, ploughing, harrowing, pulling wagons, anything farmers needed that his Farmall could do. Some jobs paid $50, some paid $300. Average was about $150 per job. Jake averaged 2 jobs per week, $300 weekly income, living expenses minimal. $20 weekly for food, mostly cheap staples, $30 for fuel, $10 for incidentals, $60 total, saved $240 weekly, day 30 totals, $2,140 to $73. Jake had saved $2,000 in 30 days, starting from 73 cents. He wrote in notebook, day 30, $2,140, 73, 1/3 done, surviving, building, but need more. Day 31 brought the game changer. Jake met Tom Henderson, owner of Henderson Farm Supply. Tom had a problem. "I've got 40 farmers who need planting done. They're small operations, can't afford their own planters, can't afford big custom operators who charge $35 per acre. These farmers are barely surviving, need someone who can plant at affordable rates." Tom explained, "If you can plant for $20 per acre, I think 15 of these farmers would hire you. That's maybe 1,200 acres total. You'd make $24,000 on planting season." Jake's mind raced. $24,000. But he didn't have a planter. Couldn't afford one. New planters cost $20,000. Used ones cost $8,000 to $12,000 minimum. Tom saw Jake thinking, "Tell you what, I'll sell you a used planter on consignment. You pay me after planting season. We split the profit. I get 20%. You keep 80%. Deal?" Jake calculated. 1,200 acres at $20 equals $24,000 gross. Tom gets 20%, $4,800. Jake keeps $19,200. Minus fuel and maintenance, maybe $2,000. Jake nets $17,000. Deal. Tom shook Jake's hand. I'm taking a risk on you. Don't make me regret it. You won't. Day 32 through 45. Jake prepared for planting. Tom delivered a 1985 white planter. 6-row, decent condition. Would have cost $10,000 to buy outright. Jake spent 2 weeks checking every component, replaced seed meters that were worn, fixed a drive chain, greased every fitting, made sure the planter was perfect. Tom lined up 13 farmers, 1,180 acres total, all committed to $20 per acre. Total contract value, $23,600. Jake bought seed on credit from Tom's store. Corn seed. Tom fronted the cost. Jake would pay after farmers paid him. Day 46. Planting started. Jake worked dawn to dark, 18-hour days, planted 40 to 60 acres daily, depending on field conditions. The Farmall pulled the 6-row planter smoothly. 40-year-old tractor, modern planter, perfect combination, old reliable power, new precise planting. Farmers watched Jake work, saw straight rows, proper depth, correct spacing, professional quality work at half the price of big operators. Day 47 through 62, 16 days of non-stop planting. Jake planted 1,180 acres, body exhausted, hands cramping, eyes burning from dust and sun. But he finished. Every farmer paid as agreed. $23,600 total collected. Jake paid Tom. Planter consignment 20%, $4,720. Seed cost, $4,800. Total to Tom, $9,520. Jake netted $14,080 after expenses. Day 62 totals, $16,220, 73 U's. Jake had gone from 73 cents to over $16,000 in 62 days. He could quit now. $16,000 was enough to start over. Get apartment. Buy tools. Find construction work. Return to normal life. But something had changed in Jake. He wasn't just surviving anymore. He was building. Farmers respected him, wanted to hire him. He had momentum. Jake decided to push through all 100 days, see how far he could go. Day 63 through 75, cultivation season. Farmers needed weeds controlled. Jake offered cultivation services, $12 per acre. 10 farmers hired him, 840 acres. Jake borrowed a cultivator from Tom on same consignment deal. 20% to Tom, 13 days of work, 10,080 gross. Tom's cut, 2016. Jake netted 8,064. Day 75 totals, 24,284 7/3s. Jake had built a $24,000 stake in 75 days. But more importantly, he'd built reputation. Farmers talked. That Sullivan kid does good work. Fair prices, reliable, honest. Day 76 brought opportunity Jake never expected. 3 farmers approached him together, wanted to hire him for harvest. We need combining done. Big operators want $28 per acre. Can you do it cheaper? Jake didn't have a combine, knew nothing about running one, but he saw the opportunity. Let me figure it out, I'll get back to you. Jake went to Tom. I need a combine. Can we do another consignment deal? Tom hesitated. Combines are expensive. Even used ones run $20,000 to $30,000. That's big risk. I've proven I can deliver. I've paid you back everything plus your percentage. Trust me one more time. Tom thought about it. Jake had earned him over $15,000 in commissions in 2 months. Kid was reliable, hard-working, honest. Okay, I've got a 1979 John Deere 6300 combine, worth about $24,000. I'll consign it to you same terms, 20% of gross. You pay after harvest. Deal. Day 77 through 80, Jake learned to run a combine, spent 4 days practicing on Tom's farm, figured out adjustments, learned to read the monitors, mastered the controls. Day 81, harvest started. Jake combined corn for 3 farmers, total 960 acres contracted at $22 per acre. Gross, 21,120. The work was brutal. 14-hour days in the combine cab, dust, noise, vibration. But Jake loved it. Was actually farming, building something real. Day 81 through 93, 13 days of combining. Jake finished all 960 acres. Every farmer paid in full. Tom's 20%, 4,224. Jake netted 16,896 after Tom's cut. Day 93 totals, 41,180, 73. Jake had built over $41,000 in 93 days, starting from 73 cents. Day 94. Jake made another major decision. Instead of pocketing the money and quitting, he reinvested. He bought the combine from Tom, paid $24,000 cash, owned it outright. Also bought the planter, $8,000 cash, owned it too. Remaining cash after purchases, $9,180.73. Jake had converted liquid cash into productive assets. Risky move, but calculated risk. Day 95 through 98. Jake took on 4 more jobs. Small jobs, hauling grain, moving equipment, whatever farmers needed. Made another $1,800. Day 98 totals, 10,980, 73 does cash, plus 32,000 in owned equipment. Total net worth, approximately $43,000. Day 99. Jake met with banker, showed his notebook, showed receipts, proved he'd gone from 73 cents to 43,000 in 99 days. I want to formalize this, start a real business, Sullivan Custom Farming, need a business account, need equipment insurance, need to do this right. Banker was impressed. Young man, this is remarkable. Most people your age can't save 4,000 in a year. You saved 43,000 in 99 days. How? Worked 18-hour days, lived on nothing, reinvested everything, had nothing to lose. Banker-approved business account, helped Jake set up proper insurance. Connected him with accountant, helped Jake legitimize the operation. Day 100, April 9th, 1992. Jake woke up in a cheap motel room he'd rented for the night. Last night of the 100 days. He reviewed his notebook. Every day documented, every dollar tracked, every job recorded. Started March 1st, 1992, 073, 1 Old Farmall. Ended June 9th, 1992, 10,180, 73 cash, $32,000 in equipment, $43,000 total net worth. Worked approximately 1,240 hours over 100 days, average 14, 4 hours daily. Completed 47 jobs for 31 different farmers. Acres serviced 4,180 acres total. Revenue generated $68,800 gross. Net profit after all expenses $43,000. Jake had survived, more than survived. He'd built a business, built a reputation, built a future. He drove the Farmall to his grandfather's grave that day, parked it next to the headstone. "Grandpa, you left me this tractor. I almost sold it for scrap. Instead, I used it to build something. Thank you. This success is as much yours as mine." Jake started Sullivan Custom Farming officially on day 100. Operated it for 18 years, 1992 through 2010. Revenue grew every year. 92, 68,000, 93, 124,000, 94, 189,000, by 2000, 412,000 annually. By 2010, 760,000 annually. Jake hired employees. Started with 1 in 93, had 12 by 2010, bought more equipment, built proper shop, became largest custom operator in 3 counties. In 2010, Jake sold Sullivan Custom Farming to Agricultural Services Company for $2.1 million. 18 years after starting with 73 cents and 1 old Farmall. The Farmall? Jake never sold it. Kept it in his personal collection. Ran it occasionally. Maintained it perfectly. That tractor saved his life. He'd never forget. In 2015, Jake was interviewed by Iowa Farmer magazine. Tell us about starting your business. Jake pulled out the old notebook, showed the reporter every page. Day 1 through 100, every dollar documented. I was 26, broke, evicted, no job, no prospects, had one asset, my grandfather's 1953 Farmall. I decided to survive 100 days using just that tractor. Build something or admit defeat. First week I made $300 disking 40 acres, slept in my truck, ate from dumpsters, was barely surviving. By day 30 I'd saved $2,000. By day 60 I'd made $16,000 planting. By day 100 I had $43,000 in cash and equipment. That 100 days taught me everything: work ethic, customer service, equipment maintenance, business management, financial discipline. That foundation built everything that came after. People ask, what's my secret? There is no secret. I worked when others slept. I saved when others spent. I reinvested when others pocketed. I had nothing to lose, so I risked everything. The Farmall was the tool, but desperation was the fuel, and 100 days was the forge that shaped everything. The magazine article went viral, thousands of responses, young people inspired. If he can go from 73 cents to 43,000 in 100 days, maybe I can build something too. Jake started speaking at agricultural conferences, sharing the 100-day story, showing the notebook, teaching the lessons. His message never changed. You don't need much to start. You need desperation. You need work ethic. You need one asset you can leverage. Mine was a tractor. Yours might be different, but the principle is the same. Start where you are. Use what you have. Work harder than everyone else. Save more than seems possible. Reinvest in growth. Build something valuable. My 100 days started with $0.73, one old Farmall that nobody wanted, and desperation that wouldn't let me quit. That was enough. If you have that much, you have enough to start. Jake Sullivan proved it. 100 days. 73 cents to 43,000. One old Farmall that changed everything. The notebook still exists. Preserved in display case in Jake's office. Every page visible. Physical proof that desperation plus work ethic plus one old tractor equals transformation. Day 1, 0.73. Sleeping in truck. Eating from dumpsters. No hope. Day 100, $43,000. Business launched, future secured, everything changed. That's what happened when one desperate young man decided to survive 100 days with nothing but an old Farmall. He didn't just survive, he built an empire. The Farmall sits in Jake's garage today. 71 years old, still runs, still maintained, still honored. The tractor that saved a life and launched a business. Jake's grandfather never knew the gift he gave. Thought he was just leaving an old tractor to his grandson. Actually left the tool that would transform Jake's life. From 73 cents to millions. From sleeping in truck to owning business. From desperation to success. All in 100 days with one old Farmall. That's the power of having nothing to lose and everything to prove. That's what happens when desperation meets determination. That's the story of Jake Sullivan and the 100 days that changed everything. The lesson lives on. The notebook inspires thousands. The Farmall still runs. And Jake never forgot where he came from. 73 cents and a tractor. That was enough. That changed everything. The detailed journey. Every challenge. Every victory. To truly understand what Jake accomplished, you need to see the details, the day-by-day struggle, the specific challenges, the micro-decisions that shaped everything. Days 1 through 10, rock bottom and first steps. Day 1, March 1st, 1992, 2 a.m. Jake woke in his dead truck shivering. Temperature outside was 32 degrees. He had one blanket, wore his jacket and jeans to sleep. Still cold. His breakfast was nothing. Had no food, no money to buy food. Stomach ached. Ignored it. 6 a.m. Walked to gas station bathroom. Washed face with hand soap. Looked in mirror. Hadn't shaved in week. Eyes bloodshot. Looked homeless. Basically was homeless. Inventory check. Truck. Dead battery. Couldn't start. Farmall. Ran but needed fuel. Had maybe quarter tank. 5 gallons. Enough for maybe 4 hours work. Trailer. Rusty but functional. Disc. Grandfather's 12-foot disc. Rusty but usable. Skills. Jake had worked construction 5 years. Before that worked summers on grandfather's farm. Knew basic farming. Knew how to run tractor. Knew how to disc, plow, cultivate. Hadn't done it in 8 years, but muscle memory was there. 9 a.m., Jake started walking farm to farm. First farm, Peterson Place, 300 acres. Jake knocked. Mr. Peterson answered, "Sir, I've got a tractor and disc. Need any ground worked?" Peterson looked at him. "Who are you?" "Jake Sullivan." "My grandfather was Frank Sullivan. Farmed over in Marshall County. I knew Frank, good man. You look rough, kid." "I am rough, sir. Lost my job, lost my apartment. Trying to make it with my grandfather's equipment. If you need any work done, I'll do it cheap. Just need to make some money." Peterson softened. "I don't need anything right now, but try the Anderson place 2 miles north. Martha's husband died. She might need help." "Thank you, sir." That conversation happened 19 times. 19 farmers. Some were kind, some were rude, some just said no and shut the door. Jake kept going. Farm 20 was Martha Anderson's place. She needed the 40 acres disked. $300. Jake's first job. Day 5. Jake started disking at noon. The Farmall ran rough at first. Hadn't been used in 3 months. Smoked on startup. Cleared after 10 minutes. The disc was rusty but functional. Blades were dull but cut soil okay. Not perfect. Good enough. Jake made his first pass across the 40 acres. Took 45 minutes for one pass. Calculated 40 acres needs maybe 6 passes to disc properly. 6 passes times 45 minutes equals 4.5 hours per pass. 27 hours total. He worked 9 hours that first day. Completed roughly 2 passes. 16 acres disked adequately. 24 to go. Problems encountered. Disc hit buried fence post. Bent one blade. Jake had to stop, find tools in grandfather's toolbox on the trailer. Bend blade back. Lost 30 minutes. Hydraulic line leaked slightly. Not major leak, but enough to worry. Jake watched it. Didn't get worse. Continued working. Jake was hungry. Had eaten nothing all day except water from Anderson's outdoor spigot. Mrs. Anderson brought him sandwich at 5 p.m. Ham and cheese. First real food in 2 days. Jake almost cried. "You look hungry, son." "I am, Mom. Thank you. This means a lot." "You can wash up at my outdoor spigot when you're done for the day." Jake worked until dark. 7 p.m. Disked total 12 acres adequately. Day 6. Jake woke at 5:30 a.m. in the truck. Cold again. Stomach cramping from hunger. The sandwich from yesterday was long gone. He walked to gas station. Bought coffee with his 73 cents. Smallest coffee they had. Used the bathroom. Washed up. Walked back to Anderson's. Started disking at 6 a.m. Worked straight through until 7 p.m. 13 hours. Only stopped 3 times to refuel Farmall. Mrs. Anderson brought him lunch, gave him sandwich and apple. Jake thanked her profusely. Completed another 16 acres adequately. Total 28 acres done. 12 to go. Day 7, final push. Started at 6 a.m. Worked until 3 p.m. Finished last 12 acres. Job complete. Mrs. Anderson inspected. "You did real nice work. 40 acres ready for planting. Here's your 300. Jake took the money. Hands shook. $300. First money in a month. He wanted to cry, but held it together. "Thank you, Mrs. Anderson. If you need anything else, let me know." "I will, son. You're a hard worker." Jake drove the Farmall back to the gas station, parked it, went inside, bought sandwich, chips, soda, $4.50, first real meal in 3 days. Tasted better than anything he could remember. Bought 5 gallons of fuel for Farmall, $12. Bought quart of oil, $2. Got change. Still had $280.63. Day 7 was the turning point. Jake had proven the concept worked. He could make money with the Farmall. Now he just had to scale it. Days 11 through 30, building momentum. Day 11 brought Jake's second job, Peterson Farm, the first farmer he'd asked. Peterson called. "Jake, I need 60 acres plowed. Will you do it?" "Yes, sir. What's the pay?" "How's 400 sound?" "400 is good. When do you want me to start?" "Today, if you can." Jake plowed 60 acres in 4 days, used grandfather's 2-bottom plow. Slow work, required many passes. But Jake didn't complain. $400 was $400. Problems. Day 12, plow hit rock, broke a plow point. Jake had to find replacement. Salvage yard had one, $8. Lost half a day replacing it. Day 14, front tire on Farmall went flat. Sidewall crack. Jake couldn't afford new tire. Patched it with tire plug kit, $3. Held for now. Had to pump it up twice daily. Added 15 minutes to daily routine. Day 15, brought third job. Neighbor of Peterson saw Jake working. Hired him for 30 acres of culti-packing, $300, 2 days' work. Jake was building reputation through proximity. Farmers saw him working, saw quality work at fair prices, hired him for their own jobs. The money accumulated, but so did expenses. Food. Jake upgraded from dumpster diving to cheap groceries, $20 weekly. Pasta, rice, beans, bread, basics, but better than dumpsters. Fuel. Farmall used roughly 1 gallon per hour under load. At $1.30 per gallon, operating costs were significant, average $40 weekly on fuel. Maintenance, small repairs added up. New hydraulic line, $28. New battery, $65. Oil changes, $6 every 50 hours. Air filter, $12. Grease, $8. Average $30 weekly on maintenance. Lodging. Jake still slept in truck mostly. Twice a week he'd rent cheapest motel room he could find, $18 for night. Shower, sleep in bed, feel human again, $36 weekly. Total weekly expenses averaged $134. Income averaged $350 weekly. Net savings, $216 per week. By day 30, Jake had completed 8 jobs, earned $2,500, spent $900, saved $1,600, plus the $300 from first week. Total, $1,900 cash. He'd gone from 73 cents to 1,900 in 30 days. Remarkable. But Jake felt pressure. Was it sustainable? Could he keep finding work? Could the Farmall keep running? Days. 31 through 60. The planting season. Gamble day. 31. Jake met Tom Henderson. Tom's proposition was tempting but risky. Borrow a planter on consignment. Plant 1,180 acres. Pay Tom after farmers paid Jake. Risk. What if farmers didn't pay? Jake would owe Tom for planter plus seed costs, could bankrupt him, lose everything he'd built. Reward. If it worked, Jake could make $14,000 in 3 weeks. More money than he'd made in entire previous career. Jake's decision-making process was simple. What's the worst that could happen? I'm already broke, already homeless, already desperate. If this fails, I'm no worse off than day 1. If it succeeds, I'm set for year. Risk is acceptable. Day 32 through 45. Jake prepared meticulously, spent 2 weeks checking every component on the planter. The planter was 1985 white 6-row, decent machine but showed wear. Jake found issues. 2 seed meters had cracked plastic, replaced with salvage parts, $24. Drive chain was stretched, needed replacing, $42 for new chain. Several seed tubes had cracks, taped them, free fix, but concerning. Closing wheels on 3 rows were worn. Jake couldn't afford replacements, use them as is. Would affect seed coverage slightly but acceptable. Jake practiced planting on Tom's farm, planted 20 acres of Tom's ground for free. Learning experience, figured out adjustments, seed depth, seed spacing, row width. By end of practice, Jake could plant as well as any professional operator. Day 46. First farmer wanted planting. Margaret Mitchell, small operation, 80 acres. Jake arrived at dawn, set up planter, started planting. First row went perfect, straight, proper depth, correct spacing. Jake was nervous but focused. Problems emerged. Hour 3, seed tube clogged. Jake had to stop, clear it. Lost 10 minutes. Happened 3 more times that day. Jake learned to check tubes every 2 hours, prevented most clogs. Hour 6, drive chain jumped off sprocket. Jake had to stop. Realign, lost 15 minutes, tightened chain, didn't happen again. Despite problems, Jake planted 60 acres that day, 20 acres remaining for tomorrow. Day 47, finished Margaret's 80 acres by noon. She inspected. Rows look straight, spacing looks good, depth seems right, nice work. She paid Jake $1,600, 80 acres times 20 per acre, first planting payment. Jake's hands shook, taking the check. Thank you, ma'am. If you need anything else, let me know. I'll tell my neighbors about you. You do good work. Day 48 through 62. 15 days of continuous planting. Jake planted 1,180 acres total for 13 farmers. Challenges were constant. Day 50, rainstorm. Had to stop for 2 days. Lost 48 hours. Put Jake behind schedule, had to work 20-hour days to catch up. Day 53, planter drive shaft broke. Jake borrowed Tom's welder, welded it back, lost 8 hours. Day 57, Farmall overheated, coolant leak. Jake fixed it roadside, lost 6 hours. Day 60, Jake himself collapsed, exhaustion, dehydration, worked too hard. Farmer's wife called ambulance. Hospital kept him overnight. IV fluids, released next morning. Cost, $240 that Jake couldn't afford, but necessary. Despite challenges, Jake finished on schedule, planted all contracted acres. Every farmer was satisfied. Payments came in. Farmers paid as agreed. Jake collected $23,600. Largest sum of money he'd ever held. He paid Tom immediately, didn't wait. Integrity mattered. Paid Tom $9,520, planter consignment and seed costs. Jake netted $14,080. Day 62, total savings, $16,220.73. Days 63 through 90, cultivation and harvest decisions. Day 63 through 75, cultivation season brought different challenges. Cultivating required precision. Too shallow, weeds survived. Too deep, damaged crops. Too close to plants, destroyed crops. Too far from plants, weeds thrived. Jake borrowed Tom's cultivator, 6-row cultivator matching the planter, 20% consignment fee again. Jake practiced on abandoned field, learned adjustments, depth control, gang positioning. By the time he started customer work, he was confident. 10 farmers hired him, 840 acres, $12 per acre, $10,080 gross. Work went smoother than planting, fewer mechanical failures, but challenges existed. Day 67, cultivator hit buried pipe, bent 2 shanks. Jake had to straighten them with sledgehammer and anvil, lost 4 hours. Day 70, heavy rain made fields too wet, lost 3 days waiting for soil to dry. Day 73, Farmall developed steering problem, loose tie rod. Jake tightened it, continued working, 13 days total work. Finished all contracted acres. Farmers paid. Jake collected $10,080, Tom's 20%, 2016. Jake netted $8,064. Day 75 totals, $24,284.73. Jake was exhausted. 75 days of 18-hour days. Body was breaking down, hands permanently cramped, back ached constantly, knees hurt from climbing on and off tractor thousands of times. He could quit. 24,000 was life-changing money. Could rent apartment, buy tools, start over in construction, return to normal life. But Jake had momentum. Farmers respected him, wanted to hire him for harvest. Opportunity was there. Just needed to push through 25 more days. Day 76. 3 farmers approached Jake about combining. 960 acres, $22 per acre, $21,120 gross. Jake didn't have combine. Had to borrow from Tom. This was biggest gamble yet. Combine cost $24,000. If Jake damaged it, he'd owe Tom. If it broke down, Jake couldn't complete contracts. Risk was substantial. Tom hesitated. Jake had proven reliable. But combines are complex machines. Jake had never run one. What if he wrecked it? Jake, combining is different than planting or cultivating. You're harvesting farmers' entire crop. If you mess up, they lose their whole year's income. You sure you can handle this? I'll learn. I've learned everything else. Give me 4 days to practice. If I can't run it competently by then, I won't take the contracts. Tom agreed. Jake spent day 77 through 80 learning to combine. Tom taught him adjustments, settings, monitoring, maintenance. Jake was natural, picked it up quickly. By day 80, he could run the combine competently. Day 81, first combining job. Jake was nervous. This was highest stakes work yet. If he messed up harvest, farmer lost everything. First field was corn, 120 acres. Jake set up combine carefully, double-checked all settings, started harvesting. First pass was shaky. Jake was too cautious. Combine too slow. Wasted grain. Adjusted settings. Second pass was better. By 10th pass, Jake had rhythm. Problems. Day 82, combine header hit rock. Bent sickle section. Jake had to replace it. Lost 3 hours. Cost, $48. Day 85. Combine auger jammed, corn packed too tight. Jake had to shut down, clear it manually, lost 90 minutes. Day 90. Rainstorm halted harvest for 2 days. Jake stressed, was behind schedule. Farmers needed crops harvested before rain damaged them further. Jake worked 20-hour day when weather cleared, caught up. Day 93, finished last field, 960 acres combined, delivered grain to elevators. Every farmer satisfied with work quality. Payments collected, $21,120. Tom's 20%, $4,224. Jake netted $16,896. Day 93 totals, $41,180.73. Days 94 through 100, final decisions and transformation. Day 94 brought Jake's biggest decision. He had $41,000, could pocket it, quit while ahead, start fresh somewhere, or reinvest, buy equipment, own it outright, build real business. Jake chose reinvestment, bought the combine from Tom for $24,000 cash, bought the planter for $8,000 cash, owned both outright. Remaining cash, $9,180.73. This decision was calculated risk. Jake now owned assets worth $32,000, but liquid cash dropped to $9,000. If emergency happened, Jake couldn't access equipment equity quickly. Why make this choice? Jake explained later. I could have kept $41,000 in cash and tried to start over in construction, but construction was unstable. I'd already lost one job that way. Or I could own productive assets, equipment that generated income. Combine and planter were tools that earned money. As long as farmers needed services, I could work. That seemed more secure than cash in bank. Plus, owning equipment meant no more paying Tom 20%. Future income would be all mine. The investment would pay for itself in one season. Day 95 through 98. Jake took on small jobs. hauling grain, moving equipment, anything farmers needed. Made $1,800 in 4 days. Day 98 totals, $10,980.73 cash, plus $32,000 in owned equipment. Total net worth, approximately $42,980. Day 99, Jake met with First National Bank, showed his notebook, showed receipts proving every transaction. Banker reviewed everything. Mr. Sullivan, this is remarkable documentation. You've gone from essentially zero to 43,000 in 99 days. How? Jake's answer. I worked 18 hours daily, 7 days a week, no days off, lived on almost nothing, saved almost everything, reinvested profits into growth, had nothing to lose, so risked everything. What are your plans now? Formalize this. Create Sullivan Custom Farming LLC. Get proper business accounts. Buy insurance. File taxes correctly. Do this professionally. Banker helped Jake set up business account. Connected him with insurance agent. Recommended accountant. Within 4 hours, Jake had transformed from desperate kid with tractor into legitimate business owner. Day 100, June 9th, 1992. Jake woke in motel room. First time in weeks he'd slept somewhere other than truck. He reviewed his 100-day notebook. Day 1, 0-73, homeless, desperate, no future. Day 100, $10,180.73 is cash, $32,000 equipment, business established, future secured, jobs completed, 47 farmers served, 31 acres serviced, 4,180 hours worked, approximately 1,040, average 14.4 daily. Revenue generated, $68,800 profit after expenses, $43,000. Jake drove to his grandfather's grave. It was early morning, dew on the grass, quiet, peaceful. He parked the Farmall next to the headstone. Frank Sullivan, 1919-1992, loving grandfather, dedicated farmer. Grandpa, I know you didn't mean to change my life when you left me this tractor. You probably figured I'd sell it for a few $100, use it to get by for a month. But I used it to build something, went from 73 cents to 43,000 in 100 days, started a business, created a future, all because of this tractor. You taught me farming when I was a kid. Those summers on your farm, I thought I'd forgotten everything. Turns out I remembered disking, plowing, planting, maintaining equipment, all came back. This tractor saved my life, Grandpa. I was going to sell it for scrap. Instead, it became the foundation for everything. Thank you for the tractor, for the teaching, for believing I could learn. I won't sell this Farmall, ever. It's too important, too meaningful. This tractor represents transformation, desperation becoming success, nothing becoming something. Rest well, Grandpa. Your legacy lives on, through this tractor, through the business it launched, through the life it saved. Thank you. Jake sat there for an hour, thinking, reflecting. The 100 days had changed him fundamentally. He was no longer the construction worker who'd lost his job. He was a farmer, a businessman, a person who'd proven he could build something from nothing. The 18-year journey, from startup to exit day 100, was just the beginning. Sullivan Custom Farming operated for 18 years, 1992 through 2010. Each year brought growth, challenges, and evolution. Year 1, 1992, Jake operated solo, did all work himself, serviced 31 farmers, generated $68,800 revenue, netted $43,000 after expenses. Year 2, 1993, Jake hired first employee, young farmer named Marcus Thompson, age 22, needed work. Jake taught him everything, paid him $12 per hour. With 2 people working, capacity doubled, serviced 58 farmers, generated $124,000 revenue, netted $68,000 after expenses. Jake bought another tractor, used John Deere 4040, $8,000, bought another planter, $6,000, expanding fleet. Year 3, 1994, hired second employee, bought another combine, business growing. Revenue, 189,000, net 97,000. Year 4, 1995, hired 2 more employees, 4 total including Jake. Fleet, 3 tractors, 2 combines, 3 planters, various implements. Revenue, 248,000, net 118,000. Year 5, 1996, built first real shop, steel building, 40 by 60 feet. Cost, 48,000. Financed half, paid cash for half. Having proper facility, improved efficiency dramatically. Years 6 through 10, 1997-2001, steady growth, added employees annually. By 2001, had 8 employees. Fleet, 6 tractors, 3 combines, 4 planters, full implement set. Revenue, 412,000, net 176,000. Years 11 through 15, 2002-2006. Scaled operation, 12 employees by 2006, serviced 120 farms. Revenue, 632,000 by 2006. Net 248,000, years 16 through 18, 2007-2009, peak years. Revenue exceeded 700,000 annually. Net profit consistently over 300,000 yearly. In 2010, Jake received offer to buy Sullivan Custom Farming. Agricultural Services Corporation wanted to expand into Iowa. Offered $2.1 million. Jake was 44, had run the business 18 years, was tired. The 18-hour days of early years had taken toll. Back problems, joint pain, wanted different life. He accepted, sold Sullivan Custom Farming for $2.1 million, kept the original Farmall, kept the notebook, sold everything else. After taxes and paying off remaining equipment loans, Jake netted $1.6 million, invested conservatively, retired at 44. The legacy. What the 100 days taught. Jake's 100-day story spread through farming communities, magazine articles, conference speeches, YouTube videos. Millions heard the story. Why did it resonate? Because it proved something fundamental. You can build something from nothing if you're willing to work hard enough, sacrifice enough, and risk everything. Jake's key principles became teaching framework. Principle 1. Start where you are with what you have. Jake had 73 cents and 1 tractor. That was enough. Don't wait for perfect conditions. Start with current resources. Principle 2. Work harder than competition. Jake averaged 14.4 hours daily for 100 days. Nobody could match that intensity. Extreme work ethic creates unfair advantage. Principle 3. Live below your means radically. Jake lived on $20 weekly, slept in truck, ate cheaply, saved 80% of income. Extreme frugality accelerates capital accumulation. Principle 4. Reinvest profits aggressively. Jake could have pocketed money at day 60. Instead, reinvested in planting contracts. Reinvested again in cultivation. Reinvested again in harvest. Each reinvestment multiplied returns. Principle 5. Build reputation through excellence. Every job Jake did was high quality. Farmers recommended him to neighbors. Word-of-mouth marketing cost nothing but generated everything. Principle 6. Take calculated risks at right moments. Borrowing planter on consignment was risk, but calculated. Potential reward exceeded potential loss. Jake took risk when odds favored him. Principle 7. Document everything. The notebook was Jake's proof, showed he'd actually done it. Documentation enabled bank account, insurance, business legitimacy, track progress meticulously. Principle 8. Honor those who helped you. Jake never forgot Mrs. Anderson's first $300, never forgot Tom Henderson's willingness to consign equipment, stayed loyal to early supporters. Principle 9. Know when to exit. Jake sold at peak value. $2.1 million was excellent price. He could have held on, maybe grown more, but recognized the right time to cash out. Principle 10. Keep symbols of transformation. The Farmall represented everything Jake overcame, kept it forever. Reminder of where he came from, proof of what's possible. These principles became curriculum, taught at agricultural schools, featured in business courses, applied by entrepreneurs worldwide. The Farmall today, still honored, still running. Jake Sullivan is 64 years old as of 2024. Lives comfortably on investment income from the 2.1 million sale. The 1953 Farmall sits in Jake's garage. 71 years old, still runs. Jake starts it monthly, drives it around his property, maintains it perfectly. Every year on March 1st, day one anniversary, Jake posts photo of the Farmall on social media. Caption, Day 1, 0.73. This tractor saved my life. Gets thousands of responses. Your story inspired me to start my business. I was ready to quit. Your 100 days convinced me to push through. Showed your story to my kids, teaching them anything is possible. Jake offers free talks to young entrepreneurs, shows the notebook, tells the details, answers questions, never charges, considers it paying forward the luck and help he received. Most common question, could someone do this today? Jake's answer, absolutely. The specific opportunity was 90s farm economy, but the principles are timeless. Find need in market, work harder than anyone, live cheap, save aggressively, reinvest in growth, build something valuable. Your tractor might be different, might be skills, might be network, might be knowledge, but if you have one asset you can leverage, you can build. I had 73 cents and one old Farmall. That was enough. Whatever you have is probably enough too. Question is whether you'll work hard enough to leverage it. The Notebook tours museums. On loan to Iowa Farm Heritage Museum currently. Display case showing every page. Visitors spend hours reading entries, seeing transformation documented day by day. School groups tour the exhibit. Teachers use it to teach persistence, work ethic, financial discipline. The 100-day notebook has educated thousands of students. Jake's story appears in business school case studies. Harvard Business Review featured it, titled From 073 to $43,000 in 100 Days, The Sullivan Method. The case study breaks down Jake's decision-making, risk assessment, capital allocation, customer acquisition, operational efficiency. MBA students analyze it, debate whether they could replicate it. Most conclude, possible but requires extraordinary work ethic most people don't have. The final truth, desperation can be advantage. Jake reflects on the 100 days often. What made it work? What was the secret? His conclusion. Desperation was my advantage. I had nothing. No safety net, no fallback, no plan B. It was make this work or fail completely. That clarity focused me. No distractions, no alternatives. Just one path. Make money with the Farmall or starve. People with options struggle with commitment. They can quit when it's hard, try something else, hedge their bets. I couldn't hedge, couldn't quit, couldn't try something else. Had to make this specific thing work. That desperation created absolute focus. Plus, having nothing means low overhead. I didn't need much. $20 weekly for food, no rent, slept in truck, no entertainment, no luxuries, could operate on almost nothing. That let me charge lower prices than established operators. Undercut competition, win customers, build momentum. Starting with nothing isn't disadvantage. It's advantage if you leverage it correctly. No overhead, no obligations, no fear of loss because you have nothing to lose. That's what the 100 days proved. Rock bottom can be launching pad. Zero can be starting point. Nothing can become something if you work hard enough. That perspective helped thousands. People at rock bottom lost everything. No hope. Jake's story showed them. This is actually perfect position to start. You have nothing to lose, everything to gain. Work ethic and one asset to leverage. That's enough. The 100 days changed everything for Jake Sullivan. Changed his life from homeless and broke to millionaire and secure. Changed his identity from construction worker to businessman. changed his trajectory from downward to upward, but it also changed thousands of others who heard the story, got inspired, started their own journeys, built their own businesses, transformed their own lives. That's the real legacy, not the money Jake made. The hope he provided, the proof he offered, the example he set. You can start from zero. You can build something from nothing. You can transform your life in 100 days if you work hard enough, sacrifice enough, and refuse to quit. Jake Sullivan did it. 73 cents, one old Farmall, 100 days. Everything changed. The tractor still runs, the notebook still exists, the story still inspires, and the lesson lives forever. Start where you are. Use what you have. Work harder than everyone else. Build something valuable, change everything. That's what happened when one desperate young man decided to survive 100 days with nothing but an old Farmall. He survived. He thrived. He built an empire. He proved it's possible. From nothing to something. From desperation to success. From day 1 to day 100 and beyond. That's Jake Sullivan's story. That's the 100 days that changed everything. The Farmall made it possible. Desperation made it necessary. Work ethic made it happen. And refusing to quit made it permanent. 73 cents to millions. 100 days to 18 years. One old Farmall to business empire. That's the transformation. That's the truth. That's what happens when you leverage the only asset you have and refuse to accept defeat. Jake Sullivan proved it. The 100 days document it. The Farmall represents it. And the lesson teaches it forever. Start with what you have. Work with what you've got. Build something valuable. Change everything. That's possible. Jake proved it. You can too.